Hey guys, welcome to Eric Loubert Horror Top 10s, Episode 1. This is the first episode of I don't know how many that I'm going to be doing. They're basically top 10 or top 5 lists revolving around movies. These are not like official lists, these are all fan-picked by me, and it goes for all the top 10s or top 5s that I'll do in the future. Now today I'm going to cover a topic that all of you probably would request a lot. Here are my top 10 favorite horror films. Now remember, this is a top 10 favorites, not top 10 of all time. There's a top 10 favorites of mine. These are fan-picked by me, as I said before, so no need to go ape if your favorite horror movie isn't on the list. These are my top 10 favorite horror movies. Enjoy. Some of you may think that I don't have much of appreciation for the classic black and white chillers of the 1930s and 40s, or the B movies from the 50s, but I'm here to tell you that, yes, I do like some of those movies. An honorable mention, coming at number 11, would be Nosferatu. I got to watch Nosferatu about a year ago, and I love it. It's the first movie adaptation of the Dracula novel by Bram Stoker. Reason why it's not called Dracula? Bram Stoker's widow would not give the movie rights to the studios that wanted to make Nosferatu, so they just called it Nosferatu, and basically took the same plot. But now, for my top 10. Number 10, Dracula from 1931. This movie has a chilling atmosphere. This movie stars Bela Lugosi as Dracula, and it's a great movie. Bela Lugosi is the best Dracula of all time, but my personal favorite Dracula is Christopher Lee. This is a good one, and if you're a hardcore Dracula fan, you need to see this. And if you're just getting into horror movies, you need to see this. It's just a must-see for all horror fans. Now for number 9, Halloween. This was the first modern slasher movie. I know other movies set the groundwork like Psycho, Peeping Tom, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Black Christmas. This took all the elements that were used in a modern slasher flick and perfected it. And after that, pretty much everyone copied Halloween. In fact, the first Friday the 13th film for a while was actually thought to just be a ripoff of this. And I can believe that in some ways. It was the first modern slasher flick, and it's one of the greats. Now for my number 8 favorite horror film, Bubba Hotep. This is ridiculous. This movie will creep you out and it will entertain you. It stars Bruce Campbell as a present-day Elvis living in a retirement home. Why do I say present day? Because in this movie, the real Elvis switched with an impersonator, so the real Elvis could escape the publicity and the paparazzi and all that. So the impersonator died, not the real Elvis. And it stars a black JFK who is played by Ozzie Davis. And he does a good job too. And you can either think that he's really JFK or that he's just crazy. And I like to think that he's crazy. This is a good one. It's an independent film. That's one of the main things I like about it. I love independent horror films. Yeah, this is an underground cult classic from 2002. And speaking of Nosferatu and Bubba Hotep, there's going to be a sequel to this in a few years, and it's called Bubba Nosferatu Curse of the She-Vampires. Yeah, the title just makes it sound ridiculous. Either way, it's a good one. If you have the chance to check it out, then check it out. Now for my number 7 favorite horror film, The Devil's Rejects. I talked about this in my second horror movie review for YouTube, and I reviewed 3 of these movies that are in the countdown, so I'll leave links for all those reviews in the description. The Devil's Rejects was my second review, and it's still a great film. It is one of the most disgusting horror films to date. Ever since Rob Zombie made this, he's been making a name for himself in the horror business. He was probably the best horror film director of the first 10 years of the millennium. If you get the chance to, check it out. Sometimes it's on TV, but if you really want to get the best of it, get the unrated version like I have. Be up for some crazy shit. This is balls to the wall awesome. Now for my 6th favorite horror film, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I saw the remake, it's okay, but when you compare the remake to the original, the remake is a piece of It's a good movie on its own right, but why am I talking about the remake? I'm talking about this. This was the early work of Tom Savini in the horror special effects business, and they were very cool special effects to look at, and the blood was good, the gore was awesome, and the premise is amazing. It takes place in a shopping mall. There's all sorts of stuff that can go on in a shopping mall with zombies. Zombies are awesome just alone, but a shopping mall too? That's crazy. And in fact, some people were offended by this movie, not because of the gore and the violence, but because they thought that George Romero was comparing mall shoppers to zombies. I never saw that, in this movie, but whatever. It's a great one, so check it out when you get the chance to. It's a classic. And it is the best of all of George Romero's zombie movies. Now for my number 5 favorite horror film, The Shining. This is an adaptation of Stephen King's book that had the same name, The Shining, but this differs far from the book. But the movie is terrific. And I watched it on TV. That was just the cut version, and it was disturbing. This stars Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance, a writer, and he and his family are going up to a hotel, and they are the winter caretakers of the hotel. While he is in the hotel, secluded and isolated from the outside world, he goes insane, tries to kill his family, yada yada yada. You just gotta watch the movie to see how amazing it is. Now, for my number 4 favorite horror film, Planet Terror. This movie is just crazy. It's the first movie in the Grindhouse double feature. I don't have Death Proof yet, but this movie is awesome. It's just balls to the wall, non-stop entertainment. They put little scratches on the film to make it look old, so that was pretty cool. It's a true testament to Grindhouse as a whole. Grindhouse theaters who play like exploitation films and all that back in the day in the 60s and 70s. So this was just a tribute to that, and I think Death Proof was a little bit more of a Grindhouse film than this, but this is an awesome zombie film. So check it out if you ever get the chance to. They don't play this on TV because the whole double feature is rated NC-17. But I have the unrated version. I found it to still be good, and sometimes it goes a little bit far as gore goes, and this movie shows some balls, literally. Now for my number 3 favorite horror film, From Dusk Till Dawn. I know a ton of you might not think this is a horror film, but I think it is. It's a vampire movie. It starts as just 2 people running from the law, killing people, all that stuff, kidnapping people, and then they go to this bar called the Titty Twister, and it's run by vampires. So they gotta fight them off, yada yada yada. It's a great film. Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney are fantastic. Overall, it's a great movie. Some people think that it went downhill after the vampires came. Yeah, I think both parts of the movie are great. So, if you ever get the chance to, watch it, because it's a great film. My number 2 favorite horror film, Black Christmas. This movie is just balls to the wall awesome. This might be the best slasher film ever. It was the last movie to set up the groundwork for a modern slasher flick. After this came Halloween 4 years later. This had the stalking camera, it had a body count, it had everything that would be in a modern slasher flick. But the one thing that they didn't do was show the killer, which was very interesting, but it just makes a movie creepier. The absence of music in some parts is just great. And Margot Kidder, best known for her role as Lois Lane in the Superman films, she does amazing in this, but this was before she was a star, and this is another independent film. They only cost $600,000 to make. It's a true testament to slasher films. It's one of the most influential horror films of all time. Now for my number 1 favorite horror film, The Evil Dead. This movie is fun. This movie is fun to watch. It's fun to look at. Bruce Campbell is great as Ash, and it's directed by Sam Raimi, and the camera moves were pretty cool and new for the time, and Sam Raimi used them in the Spider-Man movies. I've never seen a more perfect blend of gore, comedy, and horrific images and special effects. They're great. And this movie is pretty freaky too. There's a scene when a girl gets raped by a tree. I'm not kidding. Watch it for yourself. And once again, this is an independent horror film. It was shot in an old abandoned cabin, and it was just a great film. Kind of a cult classic, but a lot of people know about it. Sam Raimi, why are you holding off on Evil Dead 4? I know it's gonna happen, and yeah, it's true. Evil Dead 4 is going to happen. It's true. It's coming out in 2011, I believe. Either 2011 or 2012. I don't know if Bruce Campbell's gonna be in it. Hopefully he is. They were planning a remake, but they decided to cancel that and just make a 4th movie, because it wouldn't make sense to do a remake of this and then make a sequel to the 3rd movie in this original series. So they're just gonna do Evil Dead 4 either in 2011 or 2012. And I truly believe that this is actually one of the best horror films ever made. It had some new camera moves, and it was pretty cool to watch. And there's an awesome stop motion scene at the end, which is just killer. You need to watch this movie to see how awesome it is. So yeah, thank you for watching Eric Loubert Horror's first top 10. And these were my top 10 favorite horror films, and so thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and thumbs up the video. See you later.